Chala, Perek Gimel, Mishnah Vav. Ger sheniskayer, a ger who converted, v'hoiseloi isa, and had a doe. Nasis ad sheloi niskayer, if it was made, and as we've explained previously, this means if the kneading took place, the extensive kneading took place before this individual became a ger, potter, then the dough would be exempt from challah. Because, as we explained previously, the crucial point of time is when that extensive kneading has taken place. And as we've also explained, if at that point of time it was owned by someone who is not a Yisrael, it is exempt from challah. Umisheniskayer, but if it was needed after this individual became a ger, chayav, then the dough would be chayav in challah, although initially it was owned by this individual who was not a Yisrael. V'im sofek, if there's a doubt, when was this dough needed? Was it prior to the gerus or after the gerus? And we don't know. If there's a doubt, chayav, then the dough would be chayav in challah. As the Batanur explains, we have a general principle: a sofik issa min ha-Torah is l'chumra. We have to be strict if there's a doubt about a sofik, a doubt about an issa. So the individual would have to take challah. However, he or she would not have to give it to a kohen, because as far as the kohen's right in the challah, this is not an issa. This is a financial consideration. And there's another principle in financial considerations that we generally say, Hamitzi mechavelo olav haraya. It is the plaintiff, the person who's claiming from someone else, who has to prove that the item is theirs. As the kohen can't actually prove that the challah belongs to the kohen, because maybe indeed it was needed prior to the gerus. Therefore, this challah can be sold to a kohen, doesn't have to be given to a kohen. And also, ein chayovim oleho choymesh. We've learnt, previous mishnahs, that if one eats challah, a non-kohen eats challah, then not only do they have to give back the keren, which is the principal, to the kohen, they must also give an additional fifth. There's a penalty, a fifth, and that fifth of the value is external fifth. What do we mean by that? If the value of the challah eaten was, let's say, 100 shekel, the penalty, the extra fifth, would be an extra 25 shekel. Why? Because 25 is a fifth of 125. And that would be the penalty, the chomish, that would need to be paid. However, in this case, as there's doubt, the non-kohen ate this challah, which indeed may not needed to be challah, because maybe the individual had not yet gone through the gerus. Therefore, yes, the keren must be paid if it's eaten accidentally, back to the kohen, because that is a kapora. That comes as an atonement for eating the challah, and therefore, as there's doubt whether a kapora is needed, one needs that kapora. However, the penalty is not part of the kapora process, and therefore, as there's doubt whether or not indeed this challah really is challah, therefore the non-kohen does not have to pay that penalty, and the Mishnah says, Ein chayovim oleho chomesh. The Mishnah concludes with a new ruling which actually applies to the previous Mishnahs too. Rabbi Akiva says, differently to what we'd learned previously, Hakol holech acha hakrima betanor. Everything follows when a crust on this dough, bread, is formed in the oven. We have previously learned that everything depends on the kneading process. What was the state of that dough at that point of time? Rabbi Akiva disagrees. He says no. The process, the final process, the gamar malacha of the dough is not the kneading, but it's when a crust is formed on the dough, on the bread. And therefore, if that crust was formed prior to the gerus, then it would be exempt from challah. If that crust had formed afterwards, then when she was a Yisrael, then there would be a chiyuv in challah.